Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS Academy powered by Verizon. We are unfortunately missing our magicalist madman. He'll be back hopefully soon. I'm guessing he's just getting some water or something. But we have Joshi here, and I guess that means that you get first dibs on what we're gonna have here, as the Invisible Man, Magical, and Joshi will be put through the ringer of our very original first time ever game.
First time ever.
Yordle. As hey, he's back. Perfect timing. As I say the name of the game, it's perfect timing.
Perfect.
But we will be playing Yordle today. So, a little bit of a breakdown on Yordle is I do have a 6-letter word that I have chosen out that pertains to the series in some way, shape, or form. A general theme of the game we saw already. So the question is, you get 5 guesses. And you've got to come up with the correct answer at some point. Now, if you do guess a word, it'll be put into a box. Now, if the letter is green, that means you got the letter in the correct place and the correct letter. If it's yellow, it means it's the correct letter but the wrong place. And if it's gray, wrong letter, wrong place, get out of here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and need your first guess to go ahead and throw up on the board. When you do want to lock something in, say the phrase, lock it in. So are we giving it to Joshi since Mad Magical was gone?
I want to use the word lemons.
Lemons. I wonder where that name comes from. Huh, interesting. Yeah, let's see if lemons works. Let's lock it in. Whoa, hey! Okay. A little bit of nostalgia, and you get 1 letter.
Thank you, Bono White.
So, we've got our first letter to go into this word. Now, again, the word does have something to do with the series at hand. I'm hoping you guys'
like lemons
synergy
described it very well.
Yeah, I mean, yes. It could, in some way, shape, or form, lemons could describe that series, especially when you figure out what you do when life gives them to you. But True. As a second word, what would you like to have? Magical, I'll let you go. What do you got?
Zixins.
Oh my goodness.
Zyxins.
At this point, Kelsey's just gonna know how to spell it just because you've used it every time.
We already have an N and an S in those spots.
I don't think anybody's ever got all of them. No, that's not right.
What does Zixins mean?
Oh. Let me find out.
Let me Google. Let me Google. Oh,
okay. Well, we have an E.
All right. Well, now I will say I'm a little disappointed because you guys' synergy been a little bit off. I thought we were really building to something when you got the same word in the duo's lingo. Like that was a monumental moment. And I don't know what's happening, you guys. The story's going downhill here. But you're on your third guess.
Get rid of the X, Y, and Z because I don't want any shenaniganeries to be here.
Shenaniganeries. Okay. All right. He has some reasoning here, Joshi. But what do you got? What is the third guess? What do you think it's going to be? There's an E in the second position.
Oh man, a lot of the
Magical, you helping him out a little bit? You got some support?
Yeah. What about? I'm trying to think of one that's got a E there. Let's see. Behind? No, not that one work. We already have that.
We've already used 2 and S in the last 2 slots twice.
Yeah, it definitely does. All right, I'll start giving you some little hints since obviously you guys need some help.
We're struggling.
Okay, wait.
Let me help.
Let me try defeat.
All right. The what?
Defeat.
Defeat. Okay, defeat. That is the word. Let's lock in defeat. Look at that! Oh my! It's like a colorful rainbow.
There we go.
It's a miracle. Look at you guys.
Okay. So I'm thinking.
Need help.
I'm thinking it's EATED. So what can it start with?
What could it possibly be?
I don't know.
Do you still want the hint, or do you feel like you're on a roll here?
I think we're on a pretty good spot.
All right.
What about an H? Heated.
All right. Magical, are you down for that? Well, I guess we're going to try it out. Let's lock it in. What is it going to be? Is it heated? It is heated. Bada bing, bada boom. Didn't even have to be here for the start of the segment.
You try to call us out. Look at that.
Man, I didn't have faith, not going to lie.
Yeah.
But hey, look,
always-
it's the full arc. We've gone all day. We've had 3 series. We're in the halftime of the last series. You guys were struggling at first, and there was a little bit of redemption.
See,
and now we
you-
get the grand prize. Like, you guys are amazing.
You didn't believe. I always believe.
I did
It's always
believe.
a six-inch
But do you
angle, 'cause
want somebody who believes in the movie? Like,
Wait,
am
wait.
I always going to be believing in the movie? I need some.
We have an important
You
question
should.
for you, Mazel.
is it?
Have we ever lost a Yordle yet?
I don't think nobody has ever lost. We've gotten really close.
We've got we definitely
but
got it on the last one before.
we would have lost if I didn't give them like a direct hint. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was you guys. I don't remember. But I
Wasn't
gave
me.
like a
I
very
got no
direct hint
It
for
must
the
have been
5th
Cubby.
word.
Must have been Cubby.
I think it was. I don't remember anymore. But yeah, it was a fun time. Now that
Yeah.
series, the beginning of the series so far, has been absolutely heated. I think you saw a lot more heat from FlyQuest at the beginning of the game, and as we're going to see some of those clips, it definitely turned in TSM's favor. Some of those individual outplays that were taking place here, Joshi.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely can tell, just looking at how they were able to play throughout the course of the game, that TSM, whether or not they've had a whole lot of time to play together, I think it's very obvious immediately that they are much more comfortable, right? They feel fairly confident going into this team, and just looking at the pedigree of a lot of the members of TSM, I'm not surprised, right? These guys have played up against many of these players in their own careers before. They're like, yeah, whatever, it's okay. They have a couple of newer players in Yuji and Spyrex, but you know, they were collegiate and a solo queue star. We can do this. We've done this before.
Yeah, it was nice to see some of these kinds of moments where you obviously know in a pivotal game you're probably not going to see this, but when you want to flex your muscles a little bit, you go a little bit ham, all right? And you're seeing that from some of these players. But specifically, not only that, that's what I was going to talk about. The monkey on the Rift, Ando was everywhere, and he was willing to give his life for a lot of plays to get the rest of the team ahead, Magical.
Control. It's always about control. Try to set up the rest of his team, make sure they're in a great position to be able to clean up the game. He knows what his role is, and even right here, it's like, this fight was kind of, topsy-turvy for TSM.
It was.
It was still a good fight, because they're not necessarily losing everything. I'm waiting for the big fight where it's around that Baron. The Baron fight was really what kind of showcases just how powerful, as an entire squad, calling out each of these members has experience. You can see that in just that fight alone.
Yeah. And the player that I kind of want to highlight a little bit, or other than Anda, is Solo, right? Because Solo did a really good job at, even though Spyrex had the package, Solo did a really good job making him uncomfortable. It was very difficult for Spyrex to use the package proactively, or even to set it up in a spot where it controls a lot of space, because Solo was constantly trying to force him to use it as an escape. And once you start doing that, admittedly, that is the harder part of using the package, is using it well. But seeing that they were constantly able to create uncomfortable situations, and even at the very end when Solo just goes in, they are always making a lot of these members really awkward, right? Like, how do you actually play these situations? How do you play up against a team that is just willing to go aggressive? And so far, FlyQuest didn't look like they had the answer.
Yeah, in the bit we were trying to figure out, me and Kelsey, like, what do we want to commit to the word for this? What is this game? Like, it was all over the place, it felt like, but it was one thing that was very clear was aggression, right? It was the willingness to commit to plays, and that was the other one of the possible words was commit, because both these teams were so willing to go in for these fights and try to pick out a lead for themselves, Magical.
And that's what I was going to say. It's not necessarily about commitment, but it's actually pulling the trigger. It's actually making sure they commit to the play. Because commitment, I don't know, it doesn't have the same feel as commit, even though it's necessarily.
It's okay. Magical's afraid of commitment.
Yeah, we already know this.
Commit to the bit. Come on, that's the whole really team. You got to commit to the bit.
I'll commit to the bit, but I won't give you commitment.
Oh well, if you commit to the bit, though, isn't that commitment?
No.
I feel a lot more intelligent now that I can stroke my beard.
You look a lot more intelligent too. I like it.
What are you trying to say?
I'm not saying nothing, but you can take the context. I don't know.
Oh my God, Josh, you have a beard now.
Oh my goodness,
Christ,
we're gonna go back to that. But it was a very interesting way for our first game to pan out. But I think it's something where, obviously, a lot still to be desired for both these two teams in the way that, like you were saying, control, but clean control to some extent, Joshi.
Yeah. We saw that Tactical actually played the Lucian better in the mid game than he actually did during the laning phase, and that's something that I'm going to look at them to clean up, right? If Tactical can actually win some of this early laning phase, if they can take control of the level 1 and actually play the level 2 more aggressively, it will give them a lot more opportunities to find some of these plays on their own. Instead, it was mostly Anda setting up and Tactical doing a good job capitalizing, when I feel like this is a player and a partnership with Tactical and Mia that they ought to be able to do it themselves.
Yeah, I think that you have to see how that kind of develops, especially because we are seeing that they want to keep this duo together, Tactical and Mia, so we need to see it kind of shine out. But Champ Select is ready for our last game of the day. Can't believe we're already here. Magical, Joshi, take it away.
All right, let's get into this final game of the day. Starting off week 5, pretty strong. We've had a lot of close games all across the board, having some bounce backs. But now we got to see how TSM will approach the second game. If they can pull off a 2-0 against FlyQuest, one of the teams in the blob, that's a great start. It's a great starting point for them to slowly climb, like we saw from Evil Geniuses taking the game off of 100 Thieves. But when we look at the draft, we're not really seeing too much change from FlyQuest. It feels like they still think that what they had drafted before was still very strong.
But the Corgi ban does come through, and that means the Spyrex will have to find something else to play. And so FlyQuest are now going to be looking back at their draft and saying, what do we want to keep the same? What do we want to change? Because I feel like most of what they actually selected was fine, but there wasn't anything that I was super excited about, right? The AP Gragas top lane was a little bit weird to me, and instead they're going to be kind of shaking it up with an entirely new AD carry.
Yeah, going for Ezreal for Tomo. So I'm imagining probably the Ezreal Karma bot lane. Maybe Yuumi. We've seen that before. I'm just more curious to see what Tactical and Mia bring to the table here. With the fact that Kalista, Zeri, Seraphine all banned away, they could go back.
Same
They're
thing.
just looking to go back to the tried and true. That mid game worked out well for Tactical, but we got to see if he can shore up that early game.
Yeah, I mean, we know that this combination has played some of the Kalista Renata, they played the Lucian Nami, and that's really been kind of their go-tos thus far. But with the Ezreal, they are going to be grabbing the Yuumi and the Azir coming through, so they're just saying, yeah, we don't care about the laning phase. We are not going to try and contest that. We feel confident that we will be able to continue to play later on in the game, and I will outrange you, right? Both these champions are great into Lucian, because if you don't fall too far behind, if Lucian doesn't kill you in that first burst of damage that he does, they can just fire back, and Lucian won't be able to really interact at the same time. So TSM, they now need to find ways to actually break things up and take over, going with the Zoe, looking to find another very aggressive mid lane.
Because I was about to say that this Azir take for Spyrex, one of his strongest champions we've seen in his career, but also a good takeaway from Takeover, who popped off last game. Really, that victory was on the shoulders of Takeover. Not letting him have that, but now instead Zoe, it's really interesting because it's going to be hard to fully connect a lot of that damage to the very mobile side of FlyQuest.
Yeah, and we know that this Azir has popped off all day long, right? Triple was the first one to really have success on it. Takeover also getting, I believe it was 7 kills at the very least that I saw towards the end of that last game. And now TSM, they have tools to be really aggressive, right? They can kind of play this pick for pick, tit for tat kind of, sieging phase. And there's no Corki package that they have to worry about. So there's no like really hard timer that they're really focused on in the same way that we saw in our previous game. But Bel'Veth is also kind of falling off the table. Makes me a little bit sad. We don't get the same kind of fishy. And now, with all the jungles becoming these counter picks, what is it that TSM are actually going to try and pick up for Anda now that he's going to be having to do it blind?
Well, I feel like the Udyr ban does maybe signify that it is a Bel'Veth angle. Maybe that's what they feel. Wukong, I'd expect to actually be banned here by FlyQuest, not going for the gangplank like they had done previously, just because the Wukong was a big problem for them. It was a big thorn in their side, but instead they take away Ornn from solo.
I wonder if that pushes him towards the gangplank like you were talking about, right? Yeah. He's a legacy gangplank player. He has played this rather consistently throughout his career, but TSM, I feel like Wukong jumps out to me. Lee Sin is quite strong. The Bel'Veth is good, but not as good as it was on the first half of 12-12 after 12-12B. A lot of the base stats got nerfed. Instead, going to be going right on back to the Wukong. Doesn't farm as fast, but still has all the same playmaking ability.
Well, that's why I'm surprised that it was the Ornn ban and not the Wukong ban, just because how well Anda was able to play that in the previous game. Now you got that jungle paired up already with a pretty good composition from TSM Academy. The answer on the other side is really what's going to take the cake here. FlyQuest, they have a couple options. Viego being one of them. We've seen that oftentimes into Wukong. Then also top lane. What is Kuma blind?
I don't know. That's a good question. The Gragas didn't seem like it to me, but it's doing it.
Let's see. Not locked in yet.
Not locked yet. I don't know. I was not super thrilled with the Gragas, especially the Night Harvester Gragas. It didn't feel like it had a whole lot of opportunities to play, and Gragas still has plenty of matchups that are just like, meh, that you aren't really very excited about. But picking up the Gragas once again says to me that this game is not about top lane, right? We don't really care. Like, even if Solo goes for something like this Aatrox, something that can just play very aggressively and have enough movement speed to get back into the team fights, it's about Yuumi, and whoever is carrying the Yuumi, right? Whoever has the cat on their back actually gets to be the big carry here for FlyQuest, and we have 3 good carriers. Viego, Azir, Ezreal are all going to have big opportunities to be very aggressive, but you have to punch through 2 champions that are going to be building probably both Mav, Mortis, and the Death Stance in Solo's Aatrox and Anda's Wukong.
It's going to be difficult to actually cut through them. And I'm curious to see if Kumo does commit for the full AP build again, or if he will change it up this time around going into something like Aatrox. A little bit more difficult. Then it becomes more of a skill matchup if you can get the early burst damage onto Aatrox to work out well. But I'm looking across the board for TSM. This is a very different style. I feel like this is really where Tactical and Mia have to be able to win early into the game. Because if they don't, they lose out on a lot of potential to some good mid-game scaling on FlyQuest.
Yeah, I really asking to me, like, what is Solo hitting this game? Is like, I don't know, Gragas sometimes, right? It's just such a short-range champion into what is already a very long-range opponent side. So generally when you see this, you are kind of forced into a situation where you tend to go much more lethality. I'm looking at Solo looking to go for some kind of Eclipse build, maybe a Cirilla's on top of it, just to do as much damage in these quick bursts as possible. And you need some kind of slow in order to make sure you stay in on top of it. And when we're already asking Solo, like, how are you going to play like these kind of more unusual styles of Aatrox, we definitely got to pay attention to Tactical and Mia.
I'm going to keep my eyes on Lucian, Nami in this game, how it works with Anda this time around, if they can get to that mid-game team fighting prowess we saw in the last game, or if it's going to be FlyQuest's turn at the helm to battle back and make this a 1-to-1 series.
As TSM run down the lane, you see that Mia not going towards the top side, is going to be willing to fight for some of the early pressure in the bottom lane right off the bat, and Mia already moving towards to try and see if they can find some early vision for free, but not going to be going around. Instead, just going to be a fairly stock standard line of scrimmage from both sides.
Yep, neither of them really looking for anything too aggressive. Not wanting to get themselves caught in a bad spot, especially because we saw last time Tactical Mia falling, losing that level 2 experience rush. Put them in quite the hole for quite some time. It took a while before we saw Lucian really feel powerful, and that was in a completely different style than what you'd want from Lucian. Much more of an assassin kind of play style.
Yeah. I mean, Lucian always kind of plays that, right? He's a very bursty AD carry, but this is definitely a situation where if they don't find the lead up against Ezreal Yuumi, then we're going to start having some issues, right? This is a situation where Yuumi does not provide a whole lot of actual laning stats, right? You literally just don't have a body, and so all the damage should be going on to Tomo, whereas Mia, you know, it can just be very aggressive and kind of play up because Yuumi doesn't do a whole lot of damage on her own either.
So interesting looking at the summoners. Double exhaust on the side of FlyQuest. One for Tomo, one for Diamond. You expect it out of the cat. But it's more interesting to see that, because Tactical has kind of answered that by grabbing his own cleanse.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the... I kind of want to call it unfortunate, because I think it's very boring to watch, but it is very strong when you just take double exhaust, and you just make sure that somebody just doesn't do damage for the entirety of a fight, and it gives you multiple situations where you can be really safe, because you know that Tactical will not be able to do the damage that he needs to for 2 situations where he's going to be going in with a burst combo.
And for the second time in a row, Tactical not going to win out on the rush to level 2. Going to be Tomo and Diamond, getting themselves a little bit of an advantage to see if they can keep Tactical and Mia at bay, but Tactical understands that, hey, you're an Ezreal, you're fairly squishy. I can all in you whenever I want. It's not like before where you can outrange me.
And there you go. I mean, with the first exhaust burned, it didn't actually block almost any damage as Anda comes mid.
Anda looking for Spyrex to be able to jump on him, get a little bit of damage with the Paddle Star as well.
Bang.
But not going to force out any summoners. Probably just going to get a little bit of lane control for takeover.
Anda also soaks up a bit of EXP.
Does, and now he's got to fight against Yuji inside the jungle with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble connecting. Anda instead turns for Spyrex, wanted to get some damage on top of him, but Takeover wasn't able to join the fight, still only level 2.
And that's actually a lot of EXP that Anda has siphoned out in the mid lane, taken away from Takeover at this point. So even though Anda has this experienced lead, because he's been slower on actually clearing his jungle, Yuji cleans up the bottom lane crab and has an opportunity to either look for a gank or just go back into his own jungle. He's thinking about bottom lane.
Thinking about it, looking. The Tactical Mia still having flashes available, but no cleanse. Could be a little risky, so Yuji not really wanting to play too aggressive. There are no exhausts remaining out of the bot lane for FlyQuest.
And an Ignite was burned from Diamond as well, so it was just traded for what looks like the cleanse coming through from Tactical. And TSM, you know, they're doing a decent job, but I also have to praise Diamond. He's actually getting he got a lot of damage down early on in the lane, just sitting there looking for these auto attacks.
Pretty much we're saying, all right, when do you want to fully aggress against us? When do you actually want to look for the trade? So yeah, I'm betting that you're not really going to find that angle, not just yet. So with that, they stay even in the lane phase, even calling UG again, but Takeover was looking for Spyrex, grabs a couple of the bubbles, a couple of the balloons, but unfortunately this is where we see some issues for Zoe versus Azir. Azir, he's perfectly fine, clearing out the minion waves, scaling up into the game, and not really getting too close for the paddle stars to connect from Takeover.
Yeah, and Takeover, you know, he has to try and find something, right? You're supposed to be a lane bully on the Zoe, and Takeover, you know, typically we've been asking of him so far this season, right? We know you can play a lot of these melee champions. We know that you're good at Silas. We know that you're great at Kali. Can you also play a lot of these mages? And so far, we're seeing him try and transition, and he's had mixed success, right? Obviously on the Zero in the previous game, he looked great, especially towards the end. But the Zoe, he's had okay situations where he's like been looking fine, but he's not necessarily able to push around Spyrex enough to justify picking some of these mages over the melee champions so far.
As Anda explores the jungle of Yuji, spots him out with the help of Scar's Bloom on top of the wolves. But really, this is feeling like such a slow pace of the game from what we've seen from our past few games. Even last game, between these two teams, it felt like each team was looking for those early angles. Well now, they're just okay with, they're content with how the lane states are.
And I feel like FlyQuest are happier with just letting the game play out than TSM is, but there's the first bubble.
Auto attack, unfortunately, canceling out the trouble bubble. Now, going to be able to get a recall off, forcing Sparks to do the same in kind. Bot lane is our focus yet again, with Tomo not having as much mana this time around. It makes it more likely. The Tactical Mia, keep this wave frozen, try to force the hand of Tomo and Diamond.
They have exhausts, right? They have a lot of combat power tied up in these summoner spells, but as you said, Tomo doesn't have a lot of mana, but he's got a Viego in his pocket.
There's going to be the first exhaust. Tactical getting a little bit of distance, waiting out the exhaust so they can turn around the fight a little bit onto Tomo. Getting a lot of damage. Yuji, you got to show up a little bit sooner because you almost lost your ADC for it.
Yeah, Tomo and Diamond trying to push the pressure down.
Oh, and now they've got Anda here. Yuji could spot him out. Dodges away from the Spectral Maw. With junglers in the vicinity. Neither bot lane wants to commit for the fight just yet.
That's a lot of mana, right? Mia's flash was traded through. Diamond throws out the exhaust, and Anda is here. This is a potential dive. Takeover is coming down.
Ooh, Takeover's here as well. Get the Sleepy Trouble bubble, connect. That could be the fight. With Tomo so low and without mana, the bubble first off misses, but the Trouble bubble does connect, so they can get the first blood for Anda. Yuji now having the Catalyst back. Fire not hitting the Emperor's Divine this time around. That could make it so TSM can escape. They get heals for Tactical. They should be able to get there. They got the kill, they've got the dive, it all works out fine.
Oh man, Spyrex, we can't be missing those. That skill shot is so large. But TSM are still able to come away with that. They get the kill as a good dive, and
Wow. Solo getting the flash out of Kumo.
I respect the flash, right? If Solo had flash and Kumo hadn't, Kumo was dead there. So, good play coming through from TSM, but I love the dive that we're seeing. I love the fact that we've been seeing a lot of red sides just go for this bottom lane play. They bring the mid lane down, they just hop over the wall with the blast cone. And that's like going to be another situation where we see Takeover, even though he doesn't get an assist, creates the play necessary, and Spyrex not able to pick up anything in return.
No, Spyrex now. I'm going to just clear out some minion waves in the bot lane to get some sort of equivalency from that previous fight. This is giving a lot of time to TSM to gain control on the upper half of the map. No longer really caring. Tactical can face off against Spyrex all he wants. They really just want to make sure they have focus around this Rift Herald.
This isn't a matchup that you do want to leave in isolation for too long, right? Azir is pretty okay in this matchup, just, again, because of the range that he has already picked up. This is typically when, when we saw this matchup a lot more mid lane, that the Azirs would kind of just be totally okay. But at the same time, I'm seeing a little bit of a similarity to what we saw in our previous series, where Tomio was just hitting a lot of objectives because he's so confident that his lanes have priority, and Anda doing the exact same thing, right? He's just like, well, my opponents can't contest. They don't have their side lanes. They don't have their solo lanes to come do anything about it, and that's going to be an objective picked up right now for Anda. I'm
curious to see if FlyQuest try to answer in kind. Looking for the dragon. They have a little bit of priority. The fact that they already have their bot lane there, as well as Spyrex being able to shove in a pretty good-sized wave into the mid lane. They're waiting on it. They're waiting to see if they can actually gain some vision control, maybe even the blue buff for Spyrex first.
Yeah. And, Takeover is screaming into the mic, Spyrex is missing! Back up bottom lane!
Yup.
Don't die!
And they don't look for the dragon. I'm a bit surprised that it's still not the call for FlyQuest.
I don't think they know where Anda is, I think is the big thing, right? Like, if they knew where Anda was, they'd be fine.
Nice flash away from Takeover. Spyrex held on to everything. Just wanted to be able to burn the sun.
Got the summoner, but it is Zoe, right? You gotta be careful. They can get another one.
Now, Solo not hitting the infernal chains there. Kumo will be fine this time around. Both sides, it's still kind of a slow game compared to what we've been used to so far in this day. We've only had one other game this slow that we got to cast.
Yeah. I'm with you. I do wish there was a little bit more blood, a little bit more tit for tat.
Well, okay.
Eye for an eye.
That's true. Yeah, but I'm thinking of one thing. Azelle mentioned this. We should get on with player narratives. Let's talk about a lot of the expectations for TSM, right? Looking at how this new team has been so far, playing the slow-paced game style as well as having played the more fast and loose chaotic style from last game. This is a good sign of things to come for the entirety of TSM Academy, if you ask me, showing that they have different styles they're able to play, unless Anda just gets outright killed by Yuji right here. That could be a bad sign for him, because Yuji is on the prowl. The flash not going to be able to connect.
Good escape from Anda. Yeah, I think showing multiple styles is a good thing, but I also don't think this is them showing a style, right?
No?
In general, when you look at control junglers like Anda, historically, right? The easy comparison point is...
Hello, Solo!
Polo Solo. Yeah, you generally look at teams looking, okay, calm down.
Yeah, you don't have much mana to take over. He'll be. You don't really want to fully engage that fight. Yeah. Go say what you're saying.
But when you look at control junglers like Anda historically and Armeo, the whole thing is like, can they prevent things from happening?
Takeover. You have no mana, dude. Even if you have Anda nearby, Spyrex getting a good trade onto you. Flash.
Okay. Flashy, flashy.
Yeah. I was just more surprised because it didn't seem like Spyrex went anywhere.
But do you see what I mean? Like, this game doesn't feel like TSM are intentionally not doing anything, right? And that's what, if I was looking at them with a very clear scaling composition, that would make sense. But it's, Solo has a very winning top lane, but it's, Anda, for having spent so much time with Viper, hasn't necessarily been looking the same place. And it feels like, while Anda is trying to control people, Yuji hasn't been making a whole lot of plays for him to try and control, and so he kind of just stalls out, and that's what the next evolution of Anda that I want to see is. I want to see him being more aggressive. I would love to see Anda playing alongside Solo the way that Anda played alongside Viper, the way that Reyno played alongside Huni and said, "You're top lane? Nah, you can't do anything. We're 2v1ing him the entire time, and Solo's already built up a lead, but let's see if we can get him to take the turret."
The thing is, I know you want to see Anda play around Solo, but I don't even think they need to. Solo has been having a field day here in this top lane this entire game. Think about the flash he got out of Kumo earlier just by threatening that Darkened Blade. There, he got a solo kill actually committed. He's got himself his mythic item completed. Anda needs, I think Anda needs to do what he's doing and focus on getting these other lanes ahead. Maybe even try to set up tactical a bit more.
Sure. I'd be totally fine with that, right? It feels like Anda is kind of hovering around a lot of lanes and very slowly just preventing Yuji from doing a whole lot, but it's not as though he's preventing Yuji from doing anything, right? We looked at that play in the bottom lane where Yuji, you know, I praised him for his patience before instead of just going wantonly in, but now it's you know, you gotta pull the trigger. You gotta get a little bit of commitment, you know, Magical. You gotta actually go in for some of these plays, and I feel like for expectations of a team like FlyQuest, where we know they are a much slower team, Diamond tends to. I kind of get the sense that he's kind of like me. Just don't fight. We scale. It is all good, fam. Don't worry about it. But TSM, this is a team where they have a lot of kind of solo QE elements to not their like players, but in terms of the champions that they've actually picked up. And while Solo is so strong that he is now at a spot where he feels as though he can proxy the enemy wave, they're not necessarily playing to him. This might be the first time we've seen Anda attack.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Yuji just got annihilated, and now with Emperor's Divide punting back the Monkey King over towards his team, it will be the only one casualty that FlyQuest suffered.
There you go. I mean, that's what we're looking for, right? We know that Anda was a playmaker in the previous game. Can we get that version of Anda back, please? We see glimpses of it. More of this, please. Yes, I would like a second course.
We'll see. We'll see if we get more courses of Anda playing this aggressively, especially because Flash will be back up soon for him. The same with Yuji. Yeah. Yuji got caught off a little bit off guard there because he was setting up the play. Didn't expect that burst of damage from the members of TSM Academy. But I don't think he's going to be caught out by that twice. As for Kumo, it's a little different story. He's trying to see if he can fight the Beast, but the Beast has won.
The Beast has definitely won. And Solo, you know, because I gotta go back to him, right? We knew they played a lot of these AD bruisers, right? I think of him as Renekton Gnar, a little bit of Aura, a little bit of Gangplank, kind of whatever the team needs. It's nice to see that he's able to play this more aggressive style as Tomo looks for a dive.
Looking to set it up with Yuji nearby. He's got Flash, but he does not have Heartbreaker available. So Tactical will survive, but at the cost of, most likely, this Tier 1 bot lane.
Bot lane turret goes down. Tomo's already got the Trinity Force completed, and Magical, I think we might end our drought of rather slow play fairly soon, right? We have our second dragon. It's going to be a Hextech Dragon despite the scoreboard lying to us that it is an Ocean Dragon, and both teams are recalling everybody away in order to try and bring them back out at the right time. Sprax now, because he got stopped, going to be a little bit late, going to actually be losing this mid lane turret, and TSM exploiting some small opportunities and showcasing that they are not just a team that fights. They do understand a little bit more of the macro. It just took them a little while to all come online.
And now with turrets toppling for FlyQuest, it's a question of how did they get back into this game. Looking at how they've been building up, I'm still surprised that Kumo has committed for the AP build.
Yeah. We'll see how effective he is. They go in.
Oh, but Takeover, he got a lot of damage. Has to go golden to be able to survive. Spyrex was doing his damnedest to be able to split off Anda from the rest of the team. Should fall in the fight. While Kumo, a little bit too late, and Solo here to make sure the rest of the team of TSM will be able to get out scot-free with the dragon in tow.
Spyrack goes down to the flank from Anda, and TSM are going to be able to pick up this Hextech Dragon, even it up, and they're quietly, this feels like something we always talk about with Team Liquid, TSM quietly ahead 3,000 gold at this point. They defend their mid lane turret. They will be able to send Solo back towards the top side here very shortly, and it feels like TSM are just doing a better job of setting up a lot of these team fights. They have people in the right spot faster.
As we're going to take a look at this play, at first I thought it was going to be pretty dire for TSM, because I thought Takeover was going to die right away and give some resets to Yuji.
If that had happened, it could have been a very different game, but Spyrax just walking directly into Anda, and this is something that Anda has been so good at, right? We say that he's a control jungler, and this feels like wise, because he stands in good places, and he just punishes people for being too far forward, saying you can't be there, and Spyrex was like, alright, fair point. I'll just die.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I guess I'll just die then. And that's it. I mean, I give Spyrex a little bit of props because he was trying to see if he can deny Wukong from going into the fight. But like you said, it means that you're then putting yourself against the Wukong, and Wukong is pretty powerful in that assignment.
True. I mean, he's a great flanker, and so looking at it, again, it feels like Anda has become kind of our focal point now for maybe where TSM Academy is going to be for the rest of summer, right? Anda has been such a focal point of most of the teams that he's been on. He's continuing to find success right now as he slowly builds up a lead for the rest of TSM. And it's interesting to see, right? For a bunch of players who have had so much time playing in the amateur academy LCS space, right? Anna's one of the players who has not necessarily had the same kind of opportunity to play at the highest level for, it feels like a while, right? We know Tactical has done it very recently.
No, Tactical's playing pretty well, actually. Get all things aside, where the lane might not have been as dominant, he's still playing out the mid game pretty well. Got himself 2 assists. The Gale Force completed. Probably going to be the Collector as the first item. And he's looking to see if he can be that assassin, be more of the person who's trying to take down people. And when you have someone like Takeover on your side too, you are going to do a lot of damage really quickly unless we see these death stands completed for people like Yuji.
He's already got the Divine Sunderer completed. Does have some damage down, and as you already called out, the Night Harvester has been completed here on Takumo. So he's got burst damage, but I don't think that's really what the team has been needing, right?
Right.
It's not as though you're going to be lacking damage with Azir, Ezreal, and the Yuumi to make them both stronger. And while we wait for the next Dragon to pull these two teams together, I kind of want to look at how I'm kind of expecting that Tomo and Diamond have been like thinking about their time recently, right? Because I know you're pretty good friends with Diamond. I know that he has expressed interest that when he eventually decides that he is done playing, he would like to become a coach at that point. But it's definitely a position where you kind of look at it, and they actually won the bottom lane as Ezreal Yuumi. They have come out with a lead, and while it's not a huge lead, it is a lead at all in a situation where you're going up against Lucian Nami. Lucian Nami needs to win the lane or kind of sits around, and it definitely feels like Diamond is trying to reclaim some of the mechanical glory I feel like he used to have.
It's hard to do that when you're on Yuumi, though, isn't it? Not necessarily the most
but he
stylish.
did some of it.
Hey, he did some of it, and he still got himself a Moonstone Renewer as well to try to buff up Tomo. I'm looking at Tomo as being the player that really has to step up. While Diamond, I think, is there for the shot calling, gotta be Tomo's ability to position around these fights, dodging away from so much that will be thrown at him by TSM.
I feel like Tomo really excels when the rest of his team is able to create chaos, and he just kind of creates pressure and just does damage, but he's not necessarily one of these big playmakers, and he might get caught.
It's caught, or does he? They were able to get him out pretty easily with a lot of damage onto the tier 1. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough to topple the structure, so they don't gain any gold from it.
And ultimately, it's only the last bit of HP that matters, right? As Tomo has to run away, that is going to be Diamond's ultimate used, and I think it will be up by the time we actually get towards the Dragon.
I think so too.
But TSM, they have the Maw completed onto Solo. He's got the Eclipse. He's going to do a lot of damage if he can get in. And so if he can start looking for the flanks like we saw from Surdy earlier, I feel like that's going to be the next evolution of what we see from Solo, right? He's been very good at just playing things like the Ornn, going straight forward, but he's not necessarily always been the best at looking for ways to get in if the front-to-back teamfight isn't the most practical way to play.
Especially with how TSM have drafted. I mean, they have pretty good front-to-back teamfight, but they want to play more chaotically, I think. Well, FlyQuest, you talked about how Tomo, he thrives in more of the chaotic style when his team's able to make chaos in fights. It's still risky when you have a Zoe, a Lucian, you have Anda on Wukong, and even, as you talked about, having Maul mount Mortis on Solo, once he pops that World Ender, he's going to be nigh unkillable by the side of FlyQuest.
Yeah, the amount of Omni Vamp he gets while that shield is procced and the World Ender is going is a little bit ridiculous. But TSM, right, they have this small lead, but now is the question of, like, how do they expand it, right? And this is something that TSM Academy as a team was really struggling with beforehand. And I'm actually really curious who the shot caller is. Like, who are the primary voices for this version of TSM? My head says it's probably Anda, but we also know that Solo has been kind of like a general for plenty of teams that he's played on before as well.
Right now, he's split pushing, probably rotating up. Finally, the turret topples mid lane. FlyQuest getting themselves a little bit of gold back. They're still down a little over 3,000 gold to TSM. With how powerful the members of TSM are looking, and especially with Baron up, with the soul point potential there when the Dragon next spawns, I'm finding it hard to find angles for FlyQuest to get back into this game unless there's a mistake made by TSM.
Well, eventually Takeover will have enough damage to try and kill someone. But it feels like we're a little bit away from that, as Anda again trying to wait in kind of a cheeky spot to see if Spyrex will give up a kill, and does not. But at the same time, Yuumi is scaling, UG is scaling, the UG me.
So it's just a scaling game then.
I mean, for FlyQuest, if you take this game late, you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, you don't mind if this game goes late.
Okay.
Do you want it to go late? Meh, it's not like obvious that the game is going to get better for you, but it is definitely a spot where you want to have enough damage to override the Maws, the Death's Dances that are going to be coming out. And TSM, like right now, might be their strongest point in the game.
Oh, and it smites away the blue buff that Tomo was trying to take, so now he's dashing away with the flashes as well. TSM should be able to survive. Baron not going to be triggered there, so Anda will jump over the wall. Make a little bit of damage back on to Yuji. But all in all, works out TSM, even if it's just a minor victory.
Yeah, they get the blue buff. They get another structure up here on the top side. Is Solo level 16, 2 levels above both Spyrex and Kumo. Doesn't have this rose done yet, but once he does, it's going to be impossible for Kumo or Spyrex to leave if he ever gets the first Q.
Because right now, there's a possibility that they meet up, especially with Anda still being in the vicinity, in the neighborhood, to look for Spyrex. Spyrex is playing this cautiously, especially that Yuji kind of feigned that he was there, utilizing the hollowed grounds to just say, hey, you know what? I'm nearby. You don't know if I'm here for sure or not.
You don't know where I am. You don't see me.
Is it the John Cena meme? You can't
Yes.
see me? Yeah. That's right. I figured. But right now, okay, Josh.
You mean Lust Boy meme?
Huh?
Lust Boy?
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
you need to leave.
I forgot about Lust Boy. Now Anda.
Oh.
Looks like he's in a little bit of a spot of trouble. TP's coming in. Already used the Cyclone. Solo is getting a little bit of damage onto Spyrex, but not enough to be able to help save the life of Anda.
It's a lot committed in order to just kill the jungler. What do FlyQuest do with this? They all have their members up here towards the top side. I think they're going to try and hit the Baron.
Right, I think this is the one thing they have to. They don't really have any other options. Here's a TP coming in from Takeover to try to see if they can deny the take of the Baron from the side of FlyQuest with 5v4. It is going to be risky. Sleepy Trouble Bubble comes out, connects onto Viego. They've got him asleep. Here comes Takeover, getting a little bit more damage, and Solo with World Ender does go into the backline, does not. Instead, they're peeling off. They've done their job. They've stopped the Baron for FlyQuest.
TSM, I mean, even though they already lost Anda, that's still going to be all right. The big thing, though, is we're looking at Solo, right? He tries to go directly in, and we know that's never going to work, right? You're never going to have an opportunity to actually win that fight. They're just trying to prevent things from happening, and now with all the resets coming through from both FlyQuest and TSM are going to be in a position first. Takeover can start fishing for some of these bubbles, can start looking for these opportunities to blow people up before the fight even happens. But we see that, and I wonder if he even has the damage.
That's what I'm wondering as well. Right now, Takeover hitting these minions, not getting the proper targets like Tomo, who can keep chasing aggressively on a Takeover, chunking him down pretty low as he gets healed up by Diamond. Yuji and Co. They've now gained a little bit of control of the river with that next dragon spawning up. Solo hasn't been able to find the angle to see if he can flank.
I mean, he's looking for it. He's fighting for it at this point, but he's getting marked by Kumo, and more poke is coming out from FlyQuest than is coming out from TSM.
Trying to get the Sleepy Trouble levels connected.
Wait.
But now Solo, they've just forgotten about him. He's got the angle.
forgotten?
He's got the way to get into this fight if he wants to, but he's got to wait for the rest of the team. Sleepy Trouble Bubble not connecting. Instead, TSM want the objective. They've now spotted out that TSM is using Solo on the side, and it should be a little bit of a fight coming in from FlyQuest as they get a little bit too greedy, trying to steal it away. Now they're taking a lot of damage. FlyQuest, you got to get out of here because you already lost that point over to the side of TSM.
The dragon goes down, but Tomo, he's starting to really recognize, like, hey, I have a Yuumi. I am uncontested at this range. What are you going to do about it? TSM going to be backing up. Even though the Sleepy Trouble bubble does land, this is where he said, like, Tomo needs to step up. He's the one who, even though he has the Yuumi, all the play is going to be coming from Tomo's hands. He's the one who needs to play with the positioning and be aggressive during a lot of these fights, but TSM, I mean, the goal lead has hovered around 3,000 for quite a while.
Stagnated.
And their spike is diminishing. They are no longer nearly as far ahead of FlyQuest as they were even moments ago.
Well, you talked about the one saving grace for FlyQuest is scaling. Is to hold on to this game, make sure that draw the line of the sand, and they don't move past that. So far, FlyQuest have done so. They have lost out on some of these neutral objectives and a little bit of control around them, but really, it is okay. You're playing the waiting game. You're trying to get yourself some items built up, get a little bit tankier, have a little bit more poke from Ezreal. I mean, look at how tanky they're looking to build outside of Kumo. You already have what I'm imagining is going to be a force of nature for Yuji, as well as look for the Frozen Heart out of Tomo.
Yeah. So I'm kind of looking back to a lot of the games that FlyQuest have had a lot of success on, right? Typically, they've been finding a lot of their wins when Spyrex has been on this Azir, but he's been relatively quiet this game, right? He's only lost one game that was up against Team Liquid. And of course, you know, he had the miracle-based defense in that same series, but I'm kind of waiting for Spyrex to come alive. It feels as though both teams are waiting with bated breath for the other one to do something.
Yeah, they're both playing so cautiously, and I think this only favors FlyQuest. FlyQuest are okay with the game being drawn out. TSM are the team that needs to pull the trigger, because now, as I talked about Tomo getting tankier, Yuji getting tankier, it's going to be harder for Solo with this build to actually be able to reliably obliterate Tomo.
I mean, if he gets in, he's got the Cyrilda slow, he can stick to targets, but FlyQuest are hitting, and Spyrex is on a flank.
Tidal Wave, gonna be able to get the knockup. Tomo's still alive, though. He's still over the wall and looking to see if they can re-engage, but with the paddle start connecting, he's now out of the fight. They've got the kill onto Anna, but they traded to UG for it. Diamond will be also sacrificed to double kill for Tactical.
Solo finds the flank. He's looking for Kumo. Look at the damage that he does.
He does a lot of damage to Kumo, who's gone for far more of that burst build, but he's gotten what they need. They got 2 kills for Tactical, and they've thwarted the Baron take again from FlyQuest.
And TSM now, they're going to be having a tactical push here in the mid lane. TSM, though, stopping these Baron takes is good. You do not want to give up the Baron, right? Water is wet. But you got to do more than that. You got to try and find something. Just having a gold lead doesn't matter if you're not doing anything with it. And Anda, he's looking for opportunities for FlyQuest to be making mistakes, but it doesn't feel like FlyQuest are giving them up in the same way as they were in the first game. FlyQuest have calmed way down, and finally we see people have a bit of a split call. Yuji goes one way, Tomo goes the other, and it just allows TSM to pick them off one at a time.
It's 2 kills for just the one of Anda's life. Now, TSM still looking pretty powerful, but it's still only barely less than 4,000 of a gold lead. Not really gaining much ground over FlyQuest as this game continues to scale. We have the potential for Soul Point for TSM, and FlyQuest are here ready to party.
So, I mean, that's what we're asking, right? Spyrex has almost got his Rabadons complete. He's got 2/3 of the way there. But they need something, right? Like, nobody's been engaging on either side. It's just people getting caught out of position are the people who are dying. Nobody's really gone in, and so, you know, Kumo, I mean, he's on this Gragas. Let's see a barrel.
Looking for the barrels. I'm looking for Kumo to really show why they picked this Gragas again, and he's gone for the same build as last time. If he's able to get one good ult and good barrel chain as well, maybe that will change my mind. Right now, this is a style, as you had mentioned, that is not what we're used to out of Kumo. We're used to more of the tanky facilitating for the rest of the team. This time around, with the more bursty build, haven't really been able to do too much to help build up himself, let alone the team.
Yeah, the tanking facilitator is neither tanking nor facilitating.
Now, a little bit of a skirmish. Kumo was able to find Solo on the other side, but took a lot of damage for it, forcing Yumi to help him out, as now they're looking for Spyrex to find the angle. Kumo taking low. That Paddle Star gets a killing spree for Tactical while Solo. He's chasing down FlyQuest. The knockup from the Darkened Blade, but it was a good use of that burst of Divide. But Tomo will still die all the same as FlyQuest book it for the hills.
And there it is. We were asking Solo to start looking for these flanks, and he starts finding them, right? He's not just going right up the pipe. He's looking for ways, and he's splitting up the team. Tomo has to go up. Kumo just dies immediately. Yuji and Spyrex try and go left, but they end up finding 2 kills, and TSM finally find their way in. They're going to be the ones picking up this Baron uncontested, and FlyQuest, it feels as though they haven't necessarily been playing their game. They haven't necessarily been looking for any of these big plays. They're not necessarily the FlyQuest that we know, who is willing to just kind of throw hands in a lot of their fights.
No, because it seems that this TSM is the upgrade TSM had been looking for. Solo doing fantastic with that flank, as you had talked about. Tactical also 3-0 and 2 now into this game, with Takeover constantly whittling down the health bars, utilizing those Sleepy Trouble Bubbles and Paddle Stars consistently.
Yeah. And you can tell, right? One of the problems that FlyQuest composition has is it doesn't have great engage tools, right? You're looking at Kumo, you're looking at Spyrex. Other than that, you just kind of have to muscle your way in. And TSM, when they put FlyQuest in an awkward position, FlyQuest has never really been a team that has had great engage tools. They're not necessarily a team that has a lot of great players with trigger pull. And when you're exacerbating it with this kind of composition, TSM are just a little bit more coordinated.
Oh, and that damage from Tactical, so they can focus on Spyrex and take him down. Tomo on the other side gets the TP to try to see if it can help him. Kumo now there to protect him, but Solo. Solo's got the angle if he wants to commit. Otherwise, he can just turn tail and take the turret.
Kumo falling asleep at the job does mean that Tactical will be able to pick up this bottom lane turret. They clear out another wave, and finally TSM have a very large advantage. And I think that this TSM squad, very unlikely to give it up, but how do they actually try and get into the base, right? I think they really have to try and push right now while Azir is still dead.
I think so, and that looks like that's what they're doing. They're utilizing all 3 lanes as a 3-pronged attack against FlyQuest, utilizing the Baron to the fullest to keep chipping at these inhibitor turrets, but they haven't yet cracked one.
But it's getting close. Takeover doing a lot of damage. Solo just getting the entire top lane turret in one fell swoop, and TSM, they've done the things that they need to, and now they can start challenging FlyQuest to come fight them when they don't have any turrets to retreat to.
No. They've lost the top inhibitor turret. The mid one just soon to fall. A Tactical gets jumped on by Yuji, taking a lot of damage with the exhaust, making sure that he's not going to be able to do that much on his own. Or is he? He's got the damage. Tactical. He's back in Academy and showing why he was in the LCS in the first place. This guy is on a rampage as the rest of TSM chase down the knockup. Solo, his own stint back in Academy, showing why he deserves to be picked up, why he can do the damage for the team as well. Everyone from TSM stepping up massively in the series against FlyQuest.
And Tactical, the mechanics have been so clean later on in the game. Well, the laning phase hasn't been the most impressive thing. We have seen that once again, he's just slipping and sliding, dipping and dodging, and never getting taken down by anybody. 6-0-3.
Who cares about lane phase, Joshi? When you got the late game, baby. When you got the mid game that you can play around. The team fights looking so great from Tactical, from TSM Academy, and this is one hell of a way to bounce back after a break with a 2-0 to start it off.
And there you go. TSM, brand new team, brand new me, right? Be careful of who you made fun of in the first half of the round robin, in the first half of the summer split, because TSM are ready to go. Even though it was a little bit slower, and there are still things that I'm looking at TSM to kind of figure out, we have to remember this is their first week together, right? They have not had a whole lot of time to iron out a lot of the ways that they want to play. This was mostly based off of their individual talent, and from what I saw, they got a lot of talent to throw around.
I mean, and it looked impressive on Wukong, Solo, both the Ornn and Aatrox games. It was a little bit of time before we saw the Aatrox come online, but once he was able to get that one flank, it was over. That was the death nail for FlyQuest Academy.
And I loved how I saw it, right? Even over the course of a single game, Solo goes, that didn't work. I couldn't really go up the middle. Let's see if we can go from a different angle. And he does that for the rest of the game, right?
Yep.
It's that kind of immediate understanding of where you need to go next that gives me a lot of hope for where TSM can go.
And with that 2-0, TSM starting off hot after the break. We're going to toss it to a break on our own, and when we come back, hopefully, this time we'll have an interview with one of the TSM members. Make sure you stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here with the Verizon post-game interview. I'm Mazel, and I'm joined by the mid laner for TSM Academy. Takeover after 2-0 victory over FlyQuest with all the craziness going on. It's got to feel pretty good to come out of the break week and get a nice victory to kick off the week.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, like I'm playing with like 4 different teammates, so since last week, so it's different for sure, but yeah, feels nice to win.
So let's talk about that a little bit more, because it obviously is a big shakeup, a lot of movement, 3 players going up to LCS, 3 players, or well, I guess 3 new players onto the Academy team itself. But for you, Takeover, as you know, the rock in the middle of it all, how do you kind of go about approaching that, right? When you have literally, you know, Anda coming in, you have Solo coming in, you have the bot lane from the LCS coming in. What do you do in that situation?
I mean, like this case, I was kind of lucky, I guess, because like my teammates, like they're all experienced and like they're all like pretty good, right? So like playing with him, it's like I could focus a lot more on like on my own game, I guess. So yeah, like teams like synergy wise and that stuff, like I think it's pretty good, but like everyone kind of knows what to do. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Like just focusing on my own play.
Have a little bit of that experience under there definitely helps with all those positions there. Is there anything specific, I guess, in the short time that you've picked up from these, you know, veteran players coming in?
Um, yeah, I think. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Like I don't
Yeah.
remember one specific thing, honestly.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
But yeah,
I,
like
I, I just
mostly I
appreciate
guess.
it.
Yeah, like their calls are pretty good. Like mid game, like it's really different from I guess what I'm used to. So that's something I can learn pretty well.
I like it. I like it. Did you get to do anything fun during the break week? I know we were talking beforehand. You were saying a lot of scrims. Did you get to do anything personal, or was it more so just related to work?
Uh, no, I just played. Like
Yeah.
no,
I figured. No
no,
big
nothing
deal.
fun. Yeah,
Hey, playing is fun sometimes, especially if you're getting those dubs, right? I mean, come on.
yeah, for sure.
Now, I will say, you know, for you, Takeover, what are you really looking to accomplish in the last little bit of the split, right? Like, in terms of something you personally, not necessarily overall accomplishments, but is there something that specifically you mechanically are trying to work on and improve on?
So not so much mechanics. I think like before I was pretty focused on that, but now I'm just trying to like play like do team play better.
Okay.
I guess lane 2 I'm not like too focused on it, so I'm just trying to like I guess play with my teammates better and just focus on making better calls. I think.
All right, I like the better calls, the working with the teammates, especially with all the new faces. Gotta ask you though, do you have any competition on the radar? Do you have anybody that you're looking forward to facing for the rest of the split?
In academy,
Yeah.
let me think. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No. All right. Hey, that's all you need. That's all you
Everyone.
need.
I'm looking forward to playing
Everyone.
this server.
As least okay. There you go. You get
Yeah.
to smash down some mid laners. I do want to give you one last little bit. Give out some shout outs. Anybody you want to talk about here before we let you go?
Um, just shout out to my dog in Taiwan again. Um, yeah, just I hope he's doing well and yeah, just shout out to
Make
my
sure
dog.
you check up on him, all right? Make sure you check up
Yeah.
on him.
He has an Instagram. It's called at TSM Your Son. So some nice photos.
Some
Yeah, that's about
good
it.
ones. Yeah, thank you so much. Takeover. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful one. We'll see you right back at it tomorrow, all right?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and bring back Joshi and Magical
Is he playing a game?
the continue. I think
What
he
was-
is. I don't know.
what
I
was
heard
that
a bunch of
clicking
clicking. Maybe you never know. But I did get to, get to talk to Takeover again, and I think it's always hilarious to see the continuation of, his memes, but also realizing that,
Yeah.
he is the player in the middle of the storm of TSM Academy, and he has to kind of weather that too,
He's a
Joshi.
little gopher right in the middle of the concert. Just what's going on? I just want to play my game. I want to be good at this game. And I'm excited to see that he wants to play everybody because we do have a lot of mid laners that I feel like can really challenge Takeover and push him towards the next level. But we'll have to see. He looked pretty good today.
He did indeed. Do you have any thoughts on Takeover's interview there, Magical?
I mean, Takeover always has great interviews. I liked also the pause of like, oh, is there anyone you're looking forward to playing against? Not really.
no.
Oh, everyone. It was like
I thought the clicking was like him going to look up like the competition real quick, but then I
Nah,
realized
what
that's
he's
not
playing-
the
he's
clicking
playing-
if you're looking at Leaguepedia.
he's playing
That's not
Osu
it.
at the same time. That's what it was. He was just on the other monitor playing Osu.
No big deal. But hey, that is a roundabout way to finish off our first day of week number 5. It's been a little while since we've been back in Academy. It's been a long day, but I couldn't be happier because we are finally back with a couple weeks left. And week 5 did deliver, at least to start it off. The 2-0 victory for CLG Academy, the 2-0 victory for Cloud9 Academy, the 1-1, the comeback for EG. TL actually dropping a game to Golden Guardians as well, and then
That's
TSM
wild.
with the 2-0 victory over FlyQuest. That one's wild too. Just saying.
That's also kind of wild. But Golden Guardians taking a game off of Team Liquid is remarkable, right? Seeing that
Yeah.
Golden Guardians with the couple of changes with leader coming through could show that they do have a real chance to continue showcasing a lot of new tech as we start going towards the last couple of weeks.
I'm hoping for the dark tech, man. I'm hoping for
Dark
the
tech.
we need it. We need it. But we do have more games tomorrow, and it is a long week as we will have 3 full days of games. But tomorrow, day 2 of week number 5, on Stream 8, we'll have Dignitas Academy taking on Evil Geniuses Academy, followed by Cloud9 Academy taking on Golden Guardians Academy, and finishing it out with CLG Academy taking on Immortals Progressive Academy. And on Stream B/Path to LCS, it'll be TSM Academy versus Team Liquid Academy. That one now is going to be a banger. And then to follow it up, we got another giga banger in 100 Thieves versus FlyQuest Academy. I think the games tomorrow are gonna
TSM
be great.
Academy, Team Liquid Academy. That's where it's at. I mean, going into this week, I wouldn't have claimed that to be one. The fact that Golden Guardians were able to take a game off of Team Liquid,
Yeah.
the 2-0 from TSM today, I'm really excited about that game. I'm really looking forward to see how those teams combat against one another.
Yeah. I mean, and if Golden Guardians are able to take a game off of Team Liquid, like they're going up against Cloud9, that might be a more interesting matchup to win, and we initially would have expected as well. So,
Yeah. Well, hey, we'll have to see tomorrow, as we'll have to be right back same time, same place. But that is going to be it for us today, as the kickoff of week number 5 has come to a conclusion. It's been a pleasure, Joshi and Magical, to be alongside you for these wonderful stories and the crazy changes we've had in the league just over 1 week of break. So shout outs to Esports Engines, making everything run, making us look all pretty and nice on screen somehow, some way. And to the audience, the players, we would not be here without any of you. So thank you all again, and we'll see you next time on Summoner's Rift.